on a fresh spring dawn in 2020. Amid the stringent confines of the UK's initial coronavirus lockdown, a nondescript white delivery van halted outside a duplex in the Utrecht section of West Derby, a residential area of Liverpool. The vehicle contained 4 individuals, siblings Jason and Craig Cox, seasoned drug traffickers, Richard Caswell, a notoriously hardened criminal, and Benjamin Monks-Gorton, their subordinate with lesser involvement. Equipped with axes and machetes, this group was embarking on a heist far beyond the ordinary. Their aim was a concealed depot on Cropsdale Road West, operated by a major criminal organization in Merseyside that had been the primary cocaine supplier for the Cox brothers. With meticulous preparation, they had tracked a courier's vehicle to mark the storage location, fully aware of the grave dangers posed by their target's affiliations. Aware of the potential for lethal backlash, they proceeded. The heist was on the brink of flawless execution. Welcome to the Pursuit of Perpetrators channel, where I unravel the veiled tales of cryptic crimes. The heist began with Monks-Gorton stepping forward, dressed in a high-visibility jacket and a surgical mask, mimicking a delivery driver. However, their planned deception was unnecessary as they found the front door unexpectedly ajar, allowing them to swiftly enter. Inside, they encountered a surprised father and son duo and immediately launched into a brutal assault. The father sustained grave injuries, including a deep laceration to his arm that reached the bone. The intruders had stormed the residence at precisely 9:24 a.m. and within a mere 4 minutes seized their target, departing by 9:28 a.m. At approximately 9:30 a.m., the son, in a state of panic, dialed 999, reporting his father's stabbing and describing a scene covered in blood. What they omitted from their account was the fact that the assailants had absconded with a bag holding about 30 kilograms of cocaine, valued at nearly £1 million, belonging to their formidable employers. In the aftermath, the organized crime group, OCG, wasted no time organizing the distribution of the pilfered narcotics as they headed back towards Warrington. Courier Michael Nevin was directed to transport 10 kilograms of the stash to an allied gang in Manchester. EncroChat messages later revealed Jason inquiring with his elder brother Lee Cox, who had not participated in the heist, whether he was interested in a share of the spoils. The exchanges between the Cox brothers and their accomplices reflected a blend of anxiety and boldness over the heist's apparent success. Jason Cox, in a message to his underling Michael Nevin about relocating their portion of the stolen cocaine, emphasized the need for utter discretion. This caution stemmed from the potential disastrous fallout if it became known that the Cox brothers were implicated in the event. Jason also sought his brother Lee's assistance in securing an apartment, a contingency plan in case the Liverpool syndicate pinpointed them as the culprits behind the theft. Yet Jason exhibited a contrasting facet of his demeanor, expressing his readiness to confront their adversaries with lethal force if necessary. Richard Caswell found himself navigating treacherous waters as well. With the Liverpool organization frantically attempting to identify their assailants, they directly approached Caswell for leads. They shared with him that they had obtained surveillance footage capturing both the van and a gray Audi that Jason Cox had used to surveil the stash house prior to the raid. Caswell feigned ignorance, promising to inquire further while discreetly informing Jason Cox of their predicament. The brothers, alongside Caswell, weighed their options before deciding to proceed with caution. They were aware that Monks-Gorton had inadvertently left behind his surgical mask during the altercation, but believed the risk of his identification was minimal, given his outsider status. The trio, Jason and Lee Cox, along with Richard Caswell, equally divided the loot from their operation. The Cox brothers then negotiated with Leon Atkinson, a well-known figure in the drug trade and an associate of the infamous Dale Cregan. The logistical arrangements for passing on their portion of the narcotics involved couriers connected to Cox and Atkinson, who convened near the Manchester City training facility on 2 separate occasions, using Man City as their covert signal. The transaction was smoothly executed, with the goods and payments exchanged without a hitch, aligning perfectly with their plans. Focusing on an incident 21 years prior that brought Craig and Jason Cox into the public eye. Following a series of disruptive behaviors, the Salford City Council, driven to its wits' end, imposed antisocial behavior orders on the young Cox brothers, then aged 12 and 15. These measures were a part of the legal arsenal introduced by Prime Minister Tony Blair to combat public disturbances, marking an early chapter in the brothers' notoriety. In Broughton and Blackfriars, the duo became notorious for causing distress among residents over a span of more than a year. The council, eager to curb their disruptive actions, successfully petitioned the court to waive reporting restrictions, allowing the brothers to be publicly named. Jason was pinpointed as part of a group of youths pelting fire crews with projectiles as they responded to a car fire. Meanwhile, Craig wreaked havoc in his school, menacing both teachers and students, and was spotted wielding a replica firearm at Broughton Recreation Center. Despite the council's efforts to alter their trajectory, the brothers continued down a path leading to criminality. Years before Richard Caswell earned his reputation in Kirkdale as a formidable figure in the criminal underworld, those who lived near him perceived him as one of the more reticent individuals in the area. A judge later remarked on his politeness, calling him one of the most courteous clients encountered in a 3-decade career. However, beneath Caswell's unassuming demeanor lay a profound penchant for danger and a chilling detachment. Caswell first made headlines during a remarkable feud within the city's nightclub scene, not over the common disputes involving shootings or arson, but rather through a series of alarming incidents involving car bombs. These were no ordinary explosives. They were crafted from industrial-grade fireworks packed into inexpensive stolen vehicles, detonating throughout the city in the years 2003 and 2004. The courtroom revelations detailed that Caswell became entangled in the dispute, not from its onset, but after the initial blast outside the 051 Club, a central nightlife spot, in September 2003. His involvement was fueled by a personal vendetta against John Lynch, the club's proprietor at the time, who had dismissed him from his doorman position following an assault allegation. Meanwhile, the gang hoped the formidable group they had targeted remained oblivious to their identity, unaware that law enforcement was already one step ahead due to the now infamous EncroChat breach. The illusion of a clean escape harbored by the Cox brothers was shattered in June 2020 when the encrypted communication network their operation relied on was compromised. Despite their efforts to remain under the radar using these devices, the international hacking of the EncroChat server in France, coupled with the diligence of undercover operatives, led to their downfall. Police were able to intercept and decipher the gang's communications, revealing the pivotal roles each member played in the robbery through the clear-cut evidence found in their EncroChat exchanges. The unveiled data illustrated Caswell's initial proposition to audaciously target their own suppliers. The collective decided to explore this strategy, conducting preliminary investigations to ascertain the selling price of the rival faction, which was quoted at £41,000, with the stipulation that the pickup had to be made from Liverpool. Caswell then orchestrated a plan to sell part of the Liverpool gang's cocaine to an intermediary, using this transaction as a pretext to follow the delivery personnel back to their cache. The introductory messages on EncroChat, exchanged among the key participants, meticulously delineated their respective contributions to the plot. In these encrypted conversations, Jason Cox assumed the aliases Nova Belt and Urban Rifle. Craig Cox was also known under the moniker Nova Belt, while Lee Cox went by Marine Ivory. The crew embarked on meticulous preparations for their heist, employing vehicle trackers and conducting several reconnaissance missions to scope out the stash house, while deliberating on the optimal time to strike. Caswell's contempt for their adversaries was palpable in the recovered EncroChat messages, where he labeled them as detestable yet formidable. He speculated on the likelihood of the gang's driver having access to the stash, even suggesting he would not hesitate to resort to murder if necessary. The discussion also touched on the Liverpool gang's vigilance against tracking devices, with Caswell acknowledging their long-standing awareness and caution, emphasizing the need for flawless execution of their plan. Caswell's remarks underscored the formidable reputation of the Liverpool gang, describing them as highly effective in their operations. Law enforcement officials pieced together from their communication that the group utilized a storage facility in Bury. Michael Nevin was pinpointed as the Cox brothers' primary courier, residing in a flat in Fallowfield. A police raid on Nevin's residence unearthed £30,000 in cash, with Nevin found hiding in his cellar. The search at the storage unit revealed 3/4 kilogram of cocaine, along with scales and a cash counter. Intriguingly, the drug stash bore the same mark as that stolen from the Liverpool organized crime group. Craig Cox was apprehended at his residence, but his siblings Lee and Jason, along with Richard Caswell, initially evaded capture. Caswell was eventually detained in a lavish £1 million rented flat in the Centurion building near Chelsea Bridge Wharf, adjacent to the Battersea Power Station in London. In the apartment, authorities discovered £98,000 in cash stored in a duffel bag. On August 4, 2020, Monks-Gorton was discovered at the Village Hotel in Bury. It wasn't until nearly a year later, on July 6, 2021, that the Cox brothers were apprehended in Alicante by Spanish authorities. They were caught driving with two other individuals from Salford when a pursuit ensued. After Spanish police collided with their rental vehicle, the brothers attempted to flee on foot, but were ultimately captured. They were detained in the infamous Fontcalon prison in Alicante, only to be transferred to Madrid following the discovery of ropes and saw blades in their cell, hinting at an escape attempt in the making. The revelation of these events caused a significant stir in the criminal underworld. Properties associated with the Cox family became targets of arson, as reported to the Greater Manchester Police, while Caswell faced an attack during his time on remand at HMP Manchester. Law enforcement officials regard the brothers as key figures within Manchester's criminal landscape. Although there has been limited public discourse around the city's A-Team and anti-A-Team factions, the Cox family has managed to carve out their own distinct presence, steering clear of the existing gang disputes and maintaining their influence independently. The Cox family maintained a relatively understated lifestyle despite their criminal activities. Rather than flaunting their ill-gotten wealth through extravagant homes or vehicles, they chose a modest way of living that was comfortable yet not opulent. Jason had relocated to Warrington, while Craig and Lee remained in Salford, residing in modest homes. EncroChat communications revealed that they preferred to keep substantial sums of money at the homes of relatives, indicating that the robbery represented a significant windfall for them. Following their incarceration, the future of their criminal operations faces a major overhaul. Given the gravity of their crimes, all members are required to serve at least 2/3 of their sentences. This case was a key component of Operation Venetic, a monumental nationwide effort led by the National Crime Agency to tackle the illicit use of EncroChat for criminal activities. This operation stands as the largest of its kind in UK law enforcement history. Since its inception in July 2020, over 200 individuals have been arrested by Greater Manchester Police under Operation Venetic, with more than 150 facing charges related to drugs, firearms, and money laundering. Legal constraints prevent the disclosure of the Liverpool gang's identity targeted in the heist. Monks-Gorton received a prison sentence of 6 years and 9 months for his involvement in the robbery conspiracy. Michael Nevin, 35, who positioned himself as a gangster transporter for the closely knit Cox gang, received a prison sentence of nearly 10 years. Jason Cox was handed a sentence of 14 years and 8 months, while Craig Cox was given 13 years and 6 months behind bars. Both brothers admitted to charges of conspiracy to supply cocaine and cannabis, conspiracy to possess criminal property, and conspiracy to commit robbery. Lee Cox received an 8-year sentence after pleading guilty to conspiracy to supply cocaine and cannabis, as well as to possessing criminal property. Richard Caswell was sentenced to 7 years for his role in conspiring to supply cocaine and diamorphine, possessing criminal property, and conspiring to commit robbery. Share your thoughts and feedback in the comments section below. If you found my investigative analysis insightful, please be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the Pursuit of Perpetrators channel. Don't forget to hit the bell icon too so you'll get notified each time I release a new video. I appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Until then, stay curious and keep seeking truth.